If you and your student have filled out FAFSA and the financial aid package that you've received in return is not enough money, and you know this is not aligned with your financial situation, then a financial aid appeal might be for your family. This could be your family's ticket to getting more money from the university. So in today's video, I want to walk you through exactly how FAFSA appeals work, how to craft the perfect appeal so that we can possibly bring in thousands of dollars more for the school year. Now, make sure you hit subscribe because every week I have a new strategy for you and your family to work towards that debt-free degree. Hey there, my name is Jocelyn Pearson, founder of the Scholarship System, and we help families overwhelmed with the cost of college secure scholarships to help pay for it so that they can hopefully help their student avoid student loan debt. Now, our main weapon against student loan debt is scholarships. We've helped families secure well over $15 million to date, and more money is coming in every single day. Now, just a quick note, this is not geared towards international students. We're not familiar with this, so this is for U.S. citizens and permanent residents. So first, let's kick off with what is a FAFSA appeal or a financial aid appeal. So a FAFSA appeal can also be called a professional judgment request or special circumstances request. This is a formal way to ask the university or college to review and possibly adjust a financial aid package. Why would we do this? Well, because of course we all want more money, and more debt-free money means less debt, but in reality, FAFSA is based on prior tax year. So this means that in the past 2 years, our family's financial situation can actually differ greatly since the numbers that are used for FAFSA. So sometimes actually the numbers told, the story told in the FAFSA submission just isn't reality anymore. So here are a few common scenarios or changes that can trigger a cause for submitting a financial aid appeal. First is change of income. If your family has had a significant drop in income since that tax year, then you definitely want to let the school know, hey, this is not our situation anymore. This is one of the most common reasons for an appeal to be accepted. Second can be medical or dental expenses. So if there have been extreme out-of-pocket expenses, especially big ones, then they can take this into account. Third could be family separation or divorce. So if the household has changed, the financial picture may have greatly changed, and so that can be something that we can use as an appeal for resubmitting a request. The next could be job loss or reduced hours. So this can kind of be the same as a change in income, but this is certainly if there's been a major cut or a layoff, something like that, then we definitely want to submit an appeal. The next could be that perhaps our prior tax year showed some kind of one-time income event that is not something that has happened every year since. Maybe it's a one-time inheritance or a capital gains, or maybe a bonus. And these were extenuating circumstances. They were not things that are consistent and have been going on, or that we would get them this year. So if they unrealistically inflated numbers, then we will want to submit an appeal for that. And then the next one could be tuition paid for siblings. So if we are paying private school tuition for multiple children, then sometimes this can be factored in too. So it's worth a shot. I think the bottom line that I want you to take away from this is that there are a lot of circumstances where we do not have to accept that first financial aid package. They are very familiar with families reaching back out, asking for more money, appealing for more aid. And so that's where we want to make sure that we've capitalized on that too, if we have any justification. Now, before I get into how to submit a financial aid appeal, I do want to say that any of these reasons that justify an appeal, they can also be used in stories for scholarship money. So if our family lost income, if our family has extenuating medical issues and medical debt, if there has been a separation or divorce, these are situations that can definitely be used in scholarship applications. So no matter what, if we're in the FAFSA process, we should also be in the scholarship process. Our students should be knocking out scholarships. And so if you and your student are not sure where to begin with that, of course, again, that's our bread and butter. So check out our free webinar at thescholarshipsystem.com/free webinar. You can sign up there. It's an hour-long training, and we will make sure that you understand where to find legitimate scholarships with less competition and how to win them. So check out that free training after you finish this video. You'll find the links in the description below. Okay, let's get into the step-by-step process. So the first thing we want to do with an appeal is we want to contact the financial aid office. So every school handles appeals differently. So we want to make sure that our first step is asking them, hey, how do I do this? So actually, if you've already done this step, comment below. I'd love to know, was your student's school, what is their process? Did they have something formalized? Was it a form to fill in? Or did they just say, yeah, submit a letter and attach any kind of proof? I'd love to know in the comments which one's more common these days. So again, first step is to find out which one your student's school is requiring. And ideally, your student's doing the contacting, by the way. The second step is to gather any kind of documentation. And this is where parents and guardians really need to come in. So we want to find any kind of proof of the hardship or of the financial chain. So this could be recent pay stubs, unemployment letters, medical bills, any kind of payment records, divorce decrees or separation documents, anything that's legal there, death certificates if applicable, letters from employers expressing layoffs or job loss, bank statements showing changing financial statements, any kind of documentation that we can use to prove what we're saying is true. The more clearly we can show the numbers, for the appeal, the better the chance of getting it approved. Now, the step 3 is all about writing the appeals letter. So if the school allows or requires a written letter, then here are some quick tips. I will say though, we do have an entire video all about just the financial aid appeals letter. You can find that here. We will also link to that in the description below as well. All the amazing free resources that I mentioned will be down there. But just quickly, when we're writing this letter, we want it to be clear, concise, honest, professional. We don't want it necessarily to be a sob story, even if what you're going through could be a very difficult situation, but we do want to try to keep it focused on facts and not necessarily emotion. We want it organized, try to explain what has changed and how it impacts the ability to contribute to paying for college. And then really we want to have this come from the student. So we want the student to be the one that signs this and submits this professionally. That will be much more memorable than a parent handling it. So after we write that letter and we gather all the documents, we want to put it all together in a professional appearance. Maybe we could put it all in one PDF that's in order, so that way they're not clicking on multiple files. So this would be a great idea if we have to physically walk it in, maybe printing everything, putting it all together in an envelope. I think most of the time it's going to be a digital format though, and putting it all in one place and then submitting it in the way that they ask you to submit this. Now, it may take a few weeks for a response, so I do recommend having your student professionally and kindly following up and just tapping them, give them a week and just say, hey, have you had a chance to look at it, or when can I expect you to look at it? If they say, oh, we're at this one, and I would say give us another week, you follow up in a week. Okay. So we don't want to hound them if they say it'll take a week and then you email them the next day. What about today? What about today? But working with your student on keeping up on this. And of course, as parents, you can keep up on this as well, but they do like seeing it coming from a student. And again, we don't want to forget that no matter what, if we are in a situation where FAFSA applies to us, we are in a situation where scholarships apply to us. Okay. Your student could be going after money outside of the university and pairing it with whatever money they get from the school and from FAFSA. So we absolutely need to be doing that free webinar that I mentioned before and focusing on scholarships as well. So again, it's at thescholarshipsystem.com/free webinar. So just some quick last minute tips on how to increase success. First and foremost, be timely. If we submit FAFSA and we know our financial situation is not the same, immediately submit the appeal if we know the school that we are going to select, or if they've been admitted. As soon as they're admitted, we want to go ahead and submit that appeal. In fact, really, as soon as we do FAFSA, we can go ahead and start gathering everything and putting it all together. But the faster, the sooner, the sooner you get it submitted, the sooner that you'll know the financial aid situation. Second is to be specific. Vague won't cut it. We need numbers, we need dates, we need specific causes and reasons. Next is to be realistic. So they don't have unlimited funds, right? So they have to choose. And so if the situation is really not that different from FAFSA, I always say it never hurts to ask, but you still do want to have kind of realistic expectations. It's not going to be a huge change if the change that you're submitting isn't a huge change. And then a bonus tip could be appealing for merit money. So this is focused on financial aid, financial need-based money. However, we can also appeal for more merit money. Maybe a student received more money from one other school but they really want to go to this school. They can come back and say, hey, our financial situation hasn't changed, so it's not a financial aid appeal, but I do want to ask for more money because of this school, and I think I'm bringing this. So if they received a better offer, we have seen students go back for more money and get a little bit more if they are very competitive. So this is merit-based. But again, all the suggestions earlier are applicable if financial situations have changed. All right, so again, comment below what your financial aid appeals process looks like. Let us know in the comments. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and hit subscribe because every week we have a new strategy for you. But I hope that this was helpful in navigating that financial aid appeals process. Financial aid is overwhelming. That's why we do what we do and record all these videos to help you guys through this. That said, doing the appeals process, it can drastically increase the amount of money that your family is receiving, especially if you have a lot of evidence there. All right, I hope you found this helpful. I will see you in the next video.